Welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm joined by Rejah Rehim. Rhea, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me in your podcast as well.
What's your background and what are you focused on right now?
Sure, yeah, I'm Rejah Rehim, the CEO and founder of Beagle Security. My background is in technology and cybersecurity. I have been in the cybersecurity space around 14 plus years as of now, and I have always been interested in and how security can be made more practical for companies and for big enterprises. Most of the companies are building modern softwares as of now. Yeah, in early career, I spent a lot of time working closely with web application technologies, building web applications and APIs, and seeing firsthand how vulnerable applications can become when development is faster or more on a faster side than the quality of the development. With that experience, I thought of building Beagle Security. The main idea was to help organizations to make the security testing continuously or continuous vulnerability testing or continuous VAPT for web applications and APIs, mainly to identify vulnerabilities in their web applications and API without needing large security teams or complex manual processes. We have started in 2020. We built a platform that automates penetration testing or security testing and make it easier for developers and security teams to detect and fix the issues before attackers find them in their applications. Currently, with the advancements in the technology, the LLM and other agentic AI-based systems, now we are focusing mainly or are pushing our boundaries to automate the web applications and API penetration testing with agentic AI-based system, an AI-driven system which autonomously find vulnerabilities and provide remediation plans for the developers as such.
Uh-huh. Is there any specific problem that you're seeing over and over that most teams still underestimate in the security space?
Are you asking about any specific?
Yes, any specific problem that you guys often encounter when working with other companies?
Mainly, you're asking about Beagle security problem we face, or
No, your clients. So, what your clients experience? What's kind of the main issue?
you're asking about the problem.
Right. Yes.
One of the biggest problem most of the team is underestimate is how quickly the attack surface of the modern applications grow. The modern attack surface is growing very fast. Also, the applications are constantly evolving with the use of agentic AI systems and LLMs. Also, most of the SaaS platforms or our enterprise products, they are deployed on a daily basis or a weekly basis. APIs are getting added to the system. Dependencies changes on the go, and the infrastructure is getting updated. But most of the cases, security testing happens only once in a year, or it's periodically, maybe once or twice a year through a manual penetration testing. The problem is that vulnerability don't appear once a year, right? They appear every time code changes, or they or that gap between the application security testing, where applications are automatically tested and then they evolve, right? So the security testing is left behind. It's not considered as a continuous one. That's where we build the platform to automate the continuous process of security testing as such.
You mentioned agentic AI pen testing. Could you briefly explain what that actually means?
Like uh, Currently, what happens in penetration testing in a manual perspective is that we hire someone who does a attacker perspective of the web application and do the testing in the system and provide the report for them. But when it's come to the when we started Beagle Security, which is in 2020, it was AI ML era, and at that time itself, we used a lot of uh, AI systems to solve this and to automate the penetration testing a human hacker do. That's what we thought in the early stages of the development itself. Now the technologies evolved, LLMs came, and later agentic based AI systems evolved. We have also updated our system in such a way that the decision making or the automated penetration tools can be integrated, or intelligence can be integrated to the system. That's why we use agentic AI for selecting test cases, designing payloads, identifying false positives, or also understanding the system, contextually aware, penetration testing, like a human hacker do. So we are trying to be a hacker which is continuously available for the customer.
You're also an OWASP lead. Are there any lessons that you wish every product team had internalized earlier?
Yep, I've been part of AWASP for around 10 years, I think. I also lead the AWASP testing guide. It's a standard used for doing testing in the manual perspective as well. So, firstly, what I got from AWASP is like security issues usually come from design decisions, not just by coding mistakes alone. So teams often think vulnerability happened because a developer wrote insecure code, but many serious issues occurs or originate earlier in how authentication or authorization or APIs or data flows are designed. If security thinking start only during the testing, it's already too late. That's one thing. And secondly, like input and boundaries matters more than people realize. Most major vulnerabilities exist because application trust input that they shouldn't. Whether it's user inputs or API data or imports or payloads or third-party integrations. One of the core of WASP lessons is to always validate and control how data moves into the system and also out of the system. And finally, security has to be continuous, not a checkpoint, not a check mark at a checkbox activity as well. So many teams still treat security a milestone or a check mark activity just to complete the compliance requirements. But modern security or modern software changes continuously, and the AWASP mindset encourage building security into the development lifecycle itself through automated testing, like static analysis during the development, secure coding practices, and also continuous validation of the system.
Going back to agentic AI pen testing, how do you sort of balance out the accuracy and coverage and also speed?
Oh, okay. One of the biggest misconceptions now is that AI will magically solve everything. Right. So, as you mentioned, when it's come to accuracy, coverage, and speed, in case of penetration testing itself, if we need to do a in-depth penetration testing, which need time actually. If you prioritize speed, you may miss complex vulnerabilities, and if accuracy isn't good, customers lose trust in the results because of the false positives. So the key is designing a system that are intelligent about how they test. At Beagle Security, what we think of it is a layered approach. First, you need fast baseline tests. Then when we identify anything, we do in-depth test on that area to clearly detect common vulnerabilities, and later go in-depth in specific area to adjust a space. Also, when it's come to the coverage, we depend on the context-aware testing on that to make sure we address almost every part of the application. So we have to make sure the coverage and depth, and also also the speed. But one thing in our case is, as we are a continuous penetration testing, when we start with these small ones and go in depth and chaining attacks one by one. So because most cases we report vulnerabilities on the go, time won't be an issue in our case as it's a continuous one.
Mhm. It's funny that you said that everyone thinks that AI is magic and it can fix everything, since I feel like almost everyone on the podcast told me that, since it's across all of the industries. So if there is a startup or maybe a mid-market company who wants to level up in AppSec in the next 60 days, what are the three moves that you would recommend to them?
Sure. Like you mentioned, mid-market companies, they want to level up in the cybersecurity space, like within the next 16 days. They have the first move. They have to focus on integrating tools that readily available. So, currently, Anthropic already released the security module. So, integrate those tools early in the development life cycle itself. The first move is to integrate security testing directly to the development pipeline. Security shouldn't happen uh, only before a big release or something. Teams should start running automated security tests as part of the CI/CD or in their code base itself during the development. Platform, I mentioned, Anthropic has already released a SaaS that can do the code review in a secure perspective and provide suggestion to remediate those issues as well. That will reduce a lots of issues. And also, when it's come to the later stages after release or in the staging or development environment, they can use continuous automated PTs tools, Beagle Security, so that they can identify the issues in a black box perspective as well. And also, they can use those reports when it's go to the customers. They can show that they are already done the security side of security part of development in the development side, space itself. Also, the second thing is to prioritize the risk instead of chasing every vulnerability. Most of the case, many teams get overwhelmed because security tool produces a large list of issues. Instead, they should focus on a validated vulnerability that impact real attack paths. So, in Beagle's perspective, what we do is, like, even for league credentials, like, our concept is more of a collective intelligent penetration testing. So if something leaked in the dark web or some websites, if we get those details, we will be using that in during the penetration testing to identify, to make sure those issues are existing, not exist, or if it's a valid issue or something. So likewise, prioritize the risk or and fix critical issues before going to the production. Also, the final part is like giving developers clear ownership of security issues and security fixes mainly. Most cases, many tools are the many maybe security testing happens, or security teams identifies the issues. But finally, to close the issue, some developer need to fix. So security works best when developers see it as a part of the responsibility rather than something handled by a separate team. That means providing actionable remediation guidance and integrating finding into the tools developers already use, issues trackers or pull triggers. They can close the issues early. Also, currently everybody is using LLM tools to generate and fix the codes as well. So maybe they can integrate it with the directly with those tools, so that they can get the issues fixed in the early stage itself. Like the fastest way to improve AppSec is in buying more and more tools. It's making security part of the culture, or part of how code get shipped.
Hmm. Thanks for the long advice. Hopefully, someone took notes. And I will leave a link so they can check you out. And we'll see you in the next one.